Here we are. Here we are. Isn't time funny? I started the process of getting on here a couple minutes ago. And sometimes when I start at about 3 or 4 minutes before the hour of 10 o'clock when we are slated to start, it goes so fast. And all of a sudden I'm late. And today it seemed like 9:59, that 1 minute was just stretched so long, so long. How is that? It's really mysterious, isn't it? Um, and we all experience that, like waiting for the pot to boil. How are you this morning? How are you when you've tuned in? Can you hear the rain? We had a really like more than I don't know, 20 hours of rain a couple days ago. I think we're slated for another drenching thunder this morning. Talking about the weather, I've often dipped into this topic where it's thought to be something safe and neutral, or kind of not going in depth. But oh my God, it's um, it's at the heart of what we are doing in these practices is noticing the weather, noticing the details, the qualities that are here right now. So, how are you right now? How are you right now? Hello, Mary Beth. So good that you're here with me. The attendance live is small. It's but I know that there's those of you out there later. And even if there wouldn't be, this is great. Even if I was here by myself, I have a great little story. I always go on tangents. Adyashanti, who at Jackie and I had the great privilege and blessing to sit with meditation retreats with him for 5, 6, 7 days at a time, several years in a row. Uh, he told the story of his teacher who was taught Zen practice by the wave of teachers coming from Japan. I forget if it was maybe in the 60s in California. Apparently, the story is the Zen practice was fizzling out in Japan or where they lived, and they were evangelizing. They were coming to California at a very ripe time, I think, in our culture here in the States, a receptive time. So she was taught and given permission to teach, and so she lived in Los Altos, the hills of Los Altos, and she would set up. She had a weekly time that she offered a space in her house to teach, and she would set up a circle of zafus, of seats to sit. I don't know, 8 seats or something, and then begin at the time of when she allotted that space and time. And for a long time, I think he said it was a year, nobody came. Nobody came except her. But she persisted, and this idea, I'm just getting this tingle in my core of how much we rely on, how much I can speak for myself, but maybe this is something that speaks to those of you out there. And by the way, as I'm talking, get your space ready, or if you're already ready, just be comfortable with the coverings you need, with the supports you need, blocks, blankets, cushions. So, where was I? Um, the So often, one of the things I know about myself, but there's more to unravel. There's things I'm not conscious about how this belief affects me yet, how potently, and how I can shift out of it or how I can get it to serve me is one of the core beliefs that drives me. Is something about that I need external approval, validation, invitation, permission, and I've been gravitating toward. It's part of the reason why Sun and Moon Yoga Studio, one of its One of the aspects of its space and of its welcoming was permission to be myself. And and to segue toward my topic today, uh, and if you're new joining me, I'll talk a little bit. I'll guide us through a little bit of very, very minor in a way movement, but potent movement that to assist us in getting still and listening. The movement part of the practice that brings us to the toward the stillness part. They complement each other. So today's topic is what did I title this? Investing in kindness, and I'm thinking especially in the ability to be kind to ourselves and to provide the welcoming space and a soothing, the resource of soothing ourself. And I see that as a subset of kindness and kindness to ourself. And the image that I've chosen for the thumbnail, a neighbor very close here, they've just put up this neon sign on their front porch says, "Just be kind." And for several years now, they are constantly connecting. And all this that I'm talking about is relevant. They're constantly connecting to the neighbors, our local neighbors, close and a little farther. Instead of the tiny library of books, they have a little kind of pretty large tiny library on their fence that is full of groceries, non-perishable goods that people can pick up if they need. They in the wintertime they have had coats on their porch and a sign that says if you're cold, if you need these coverings, come get them. They often collect other kind of like do clothing and goods exchanges on their property. They've got donation bins there almost all the time, and they reach out. They walk out and talk to neighbors. They were um, supporting some young artists, roughly 10, 11, 12-year-old artists who were doing this outdoor studio on their lawn. Anyhow, just be kind. I've just been listening to uh, an interview on being with Krista Tippett interviewing Vivek Murthy, who has been Surgeon General to the United States a couple of times recently. And one of the things he said that would bring us healing, and there are many, many ways that we need healing, but one of the key ways was in our emotional and mental health areas. And he has some simple 4 steps that are very helpful. Simple steps, kind of intuitive that you might guess. And the first one is to connect with other humans outside of the people in your home for 15 minutes a day, a phone call, a video call. I'm thinking not text or email, I'm thinking a little more sensory rich and real time. Not like something that would be answered later, but real time, 15 minutes, or in person, of course. And part of what I was promised from last week to talk about how the soil, the condition of the soil of our welcoming that needs to be present um, for 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 whatever arrives, whether it's happy things, soothing things, difficult things, challenging things, painful things, confusing things, exciting things. And that soil, so I have this little challenge to, it sounds like so simple that there's healing in connection, but we also, many of us are really challenged in how we can connect in healthy ways. We're challenged because some reason, many reasons. Maybe the models that we grew up with in our adults, who how they connected, had some healthy ways of connecting, but maybe also some really dysfunctional and painful ways to connect. So, what happens when we connect and we open ourselves, say, to a connection? And sometimes it can be just right. There have been times when I've called on friends to talk, and it's just met every the need I had, and it's energized me and made me feel more whole, more connected, more healthy, mentally and physically. And there are other times, actually one even came up yesterday, and I credit the time of our practice and my learning and my teachers for guiding me in this through their learning and experience, that yesterday I did something to nourish myself, and this to fill that resource bucket I have for myself, for self-soothing, for self-kindness, that well that's needed, that's to prepare this soil. And it was a wonderful. It was. I'm so glad I attended Marjorie Ames' meditation 2-hour retreat at the studio. Highly recommend. Pretty sure it'll come around in springtime again, if not sooner. Highly recommend going. I think I'm going to go. I'm planning on. Oh, in the fall. I'm sorry. We're in spring now. So it was wonderful. And as in the departure time and talking to people a couple of times, for me, what came up was something in the interactions which were wonderful in many ways, and we just had this shared experience. We just contributed. We just assisted each other to have this quiet time, an internal time, time for the practices of journaling, resting, yoga, meditation, Feldenkrais, bright breathing. And I am grateful, I guess, that these, I had some triggers of, and I was blessed again from my practice and where I was to recognize, I felt like some what was it, some deficiency in myself, or I said something wrong, or the way I acted was wrong. And there's a piece of that that could be true. But also, as I got in my car and I sat with it, there was another voice there, or another perspective, telling me, reminding me to look, that maybe there's something else here. And for me, that something else was, that I'm maybe projecting, but there's something in me, maybe that's attracting. I don't know if it's quite that. That 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 I'm not getting that feedback, or that I'm responsible for that person. So I'm a little murky on it still, as you can see. It's something that I think it's coming from one of my core beliefs, that I'm responsible for how that person feels, or that I actually contribute to some problem in our relating. And the way I'm even modeling this, finding the right words, and I've shared this practice with you, this inquiry, and then giving language to what we feel and find, how important that is to go through that refining. It's like as if we're writing a poem or writing a piece of prose. How we edit and re-edit, have somebody check it for us, an important part of this, doing this practice together at times, to find just the right words to describe what we are experiencing. That's a perfect segue for me to talk a little bit less, but guide you toward. Oh, and I just have to give you a glimpse, because we're going toward this ease. And of course, the animals are the ones resting animals, sleeping animals that really give us a feel for how to do that. Rock and Tommy resting nearby. So find your seat of comfort. We'll be sitting and we'll take our tiny bit of movement practice. We'll really, it's just touch practice into our stillness. So you could do this lying down, legs up the wall, lying in your bed. Get comfy, cozy. So you might need something under your pelvis. Maybe it's gotten chillier in my space. Maybe it has in yours. Did you notice my new bling? I'll talk about the gratitude of that. My new bling, the additional. And let's begin to settle. And it doesn't mean yet that you have to try to let go of some kind of idea of the posture if you're sitting, of how it should be, but rather start to feel into the body, to sense the infinite, invisible but palpable lines of gravity. I think plumb line is the term that helps. A line that's any place. Sometimes we use it to help line ourselves up in a mountain pose. Drop a plumb line, if looking from the side, that the ear, shoulder, hip, ankle line up, something like that. I'm reluctant to make that line up as rigorous as that sounded, but when we just feel them coming through, as if maybe there's one dropped sort of toward the front of your head, and how that, just feel where that drops down to the earth, maybe right at the center of your head, or if you're lying on your back or on your front or on your side, any line from any point on the body surface that's closer to the sky, toward that point in the center of the earth. That's the plumb line definition, I think, toward the center of the earth. I'll have to verify that. Thank you, by the way, for being here. Thank you for your commitment to this practice for yourself, nurturing this soil of welcoming, of kindness, of self-regulating, so that it's easier to react to difficult things from a time when we might be knocked off balance or insulted or offended in some way, so that we can know that we have a lot of more resources than we might think, or even previously had, for our own support and steadiness, not to be knocked off kilter by some words. And really, those words probably hurt us most because there's something in us that believes them. So, the movement part, the touch. Choose some part of your body to touch with your hand. One suggestion might be, or hands, is your foot. If you've got your foot close to you, if you're lying down and you prefer to do a shoulder or the neck and jaw area. In fact, I might do that one because that's been a issue for me. And just kind of listen, kind of, not kind of, fully, fully, I use that phrase. Tune in Tune in to what the hands are reporting. And we got grounded, and now we're listening as if we're listening for the vibration of sound and touch and color and light as it moves from one place to another, from the body to the hands, from the hands to the body. So, first, just sense how the body is receiving the touch of your hands. My hands are a little cool. And is there kindness? Is there love? Is there acceptance? Is there wonder? And I have to report for myself what my something I'm finding about myself is the way that I'm out there in the world, the way I attend is often with a not only some of those all those things that I mentioned, but often includes a big dose, healthy dose of what's am I safe? What is there? What is there that I need to get ready for? Very natural. It's that what the term you might have heard a lot these days, negative bias of our brain. It's for safety. Very important, but very possibly on overdrive. So if you, like me, I should have given this permission. I'm going to rest because there's just a little rest from that particular position, but I'm still going to feel to my neck now, just with my. So I've removed my hands, but if you could keep your hands where they are, you could just give them a rest. You could shift how you're touching. So staying focused on that same part, for me, the neck, jaw area, shoulder kind of connection. Hands on or hands off. Just report to yourself in words and even out loud if you feel comfortable to do that in your space. Plenty of space around. I probably didn't demonstrate that accurately, but space around the words and space and time to keep receiving the flow of what is it that's here in my jaw. So I was reporting what I felt being received from the hands, which is one angle. Now I'm going to report what the jaw and neck itself feel. There was effort. There was effort to be, effort to be, effort to be ready. And what would be even more accurate, sort of asking, does that hit it right on the head? Or is it what comes to me is on guard, on guard. And so you might have a gesture associated with the most accurate verbal expression of what the body and heart, so the physical and the emotional blend of feeling tone. Continue that a little while as you like, as I'm going to segue us right into stillness. for about 6 minutes. And even in these first few moments, because I didn't give you much lead time into that, if you want to make a few adjustments to the position of your choice for this stillness and silence. And so we're riding on the waves of giving ourselves this gift of undisturbed attention with our hands, with our minds, with our hearts. We attended to some part of ourself. Which might, if hopefully, for me, hopefully, but I can't assume, but if that yielded the feeling of comfort and safety, this resource, this gift from this kind gift to ourself, and it assists us to be still and be silent, and to continue to receive even without any reaction. And now the practice is to no longer name or create the expression, but simply be that paired back to just the receptive part. The naming, the mind stream may still come, most certainly will. Let it. Over and over again, rest in that part of yourself that is already being. Breath, We have many, many allies to assist us to keep coming back. Breath is one of them. Thank you for joining me for this practice. And before I let you go, let me just tie up a couple loose ends. And while we do that, you can just slowly feel the transition. And maybe you choose to just stay seated longer. That was a very short meditation, really. I think I mentioned that Vivek Murthy had four simple practices to, or I forgot what he calls them, not practices, to help us toward healing, wholeness, and especially in the area of the heart mind. Human connection, 15 minutes a day is one. And I won't go in detail, but maybe I'll use these for subsequent talks together in the next weeks. Second, give your full attention to who you're with. Tough these days, even with great intention. Third, service, karma, karmic. Oh no, what's the word? I forget. Serva, seva in Sanskrit. Uh, Solitude. So in a sense, even though we were together in a human connection, in a sense, even if not in real time, um, we were giving our full attention. We did the second. For me, I was serving, and in a sense, you're serving by filling your resource. You're serving the greater good. And solitude, in a sense, what we just did, especially in the moments when you were really still and silent, that was solitude. But I will say one more thing as I let you go about the solitude, and I love that he said this. It can be just a few moments of, stop and smell the roses. And these spring, at least here, if you're uh, in the real time here now, it's springtime and the flowers, the different times of day, all the flowers out, whether it's the morning light through them, whether it's a day like today with the raindrops on the petals or the new leaves. How talk about time expanding and contracting, just that moment of stopping to give that full attention to those drops of rain on flower petals goes a long, long way. And then finally, my new bling is a unicorn, as the unicorn necklace that my niece gave me as when I was visiting in Costa Rica when we arrived. She chose beads of my favorite color, the aqua, and I now have my own unicorn to come with me, one of my resources. Ciao, ciao. I'll let you go. We're way over time, 35 minutes or something. I love you guys. Thank you. See you next week. And check out sunandmoonstudio.com.